My name is Adele Kaminsky, and I was 75 the morning my children forgot me on purpose. I had set 4 places at the table. I had baked a small cake the night before, the yellow kind with the soft crumb their father used to love, and I wrote nothing on it because I did not want to seem like I was begging. By noon, the candles had gone soft in the sun. Nobody came, and across town, in a house I still owned, my 3 grown children were already deciding who would get which room. Before I tell you the rest, let me say this gently. If stories like mine find a place in you, come sit with us here at Revenge Lab and subscribe, because these are the kind of tales we tell. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from and how your day has been, honestly, the good and the tired parts. I hope, wherever you are, that today is soft with you and that something small makes you smile. Now let me go back to the beginning. I want you to understand I am not a bitter woman. I am a patient one. There is a difference, and my children never learned it. The morning had started so ordinary. I had put on the blue dress with the small pearl buttons, the one I save for occasions, and I had done my hair the way Josie once said made me look like a woman in an old photograph. I had wiped down the good plates. I had even bought a small bottle of the sweet wine none of us really like but always open, because opening it is a way of saying today is different from other days. By 11, I had convinced myself they were only running late. By 12:30, I stopped setting the table and started clearing it. There is a particular loneliness in putting away 4 clean plates that were never used. You do it slowly. You are not tired. You are just very quiet inside. I called Daniel first, my oldest. It rang twice and went to voicemail, which is what a phone does when a thumb presses it quiet. I called Marion, nothing. I called Peter, the youngest, the one who once cried when I sold his bicycle and never quite forgave me for growing old. Nothing. So I sat with my cooling tea, and I did a thing old women are very good at. I waited, and I listened to what the silence was telling me. The silence said they were together somewhere. 3 phones do not go dark by accident on the same afternoon. And there was only one place all 3 of them ever gathered without me. The old family house on Linden Street, where I had raised them, the house I had never sold, because I kept thinking one of them might want it someday. I did not cry. I want that on the record. I had done my crying 2 years earlier, quietly, and I had come out the other side with a plan and a lawyer and a very steady hand. There was one voice in my family that never went quiet. My granddaughter Josie, Marion's girl, 22, working nights at a care home and studying by day. Every Sunday, without fail, for 4 years, my phone rang at 7 in the evening and it was Josie. She never wanted anything. She asked about my knees and my garden and whether I had eaten. She once drove 90 minutes in the rain because I mentioned, in passing, that a light bulb had gone in the hall and I did not trust the ladder. I never told her she was teaching me something, but she was. She was teaching me the difference between people who see you and people who see what you leave behind. I remember one Sunday she called from the bus, and there was so much noise behind her, and I told her to hang up and travel safe, and she said, "No, Grandma, I called to hear you. The noise can wait." She was 20 years old and working double shifts, and she still gave a lonely woman the one thing nobody else in my family would spare. Her attention. Not her money, not her plans. Her attention, which is the rarest currency there is, and the only one that cannot be inherited. She never once asked about the house. In 4 years, not a single question about what would happen to it, or to my savings, or to anything I owned. I noticed that too. I noticed it the way you notice a clean thing in a room full of dust. 2 years before that birthday, at a family dinner, I had overheard Daniel in the kitchen. He did not know I was in the pantry counting jars. He said to Peter, low and easy, "When the house comes to us, we sell fast before the market turns." When the house comes to us, not if she passes, not one day, as though I were a season that had already ended. I stayed very still in that pantry. I finished counting the jars, and the next morning I called a lawyer. Here is the thing my children never grasped about their mother. I worked 41 years in the records office of a county courthouse. I did not practice law, I filed it. I alphabetized it. I watched, decade after decade, families tear themselves apart over paper they did not understand, and I learned exactly which paper wins. A will can be fought. A will is a wish read aloud after you are gone, and wishes get contested in rooms full of hungry people. A trust is different. A trust is a wall you build while you are still alive and standing behind it. So quietly, over several months, I moved the house on Linden Street into a living trust. I moved my savings, the modest, careful pile of 41 years, into it too. I named a successor trustee who was not my child, and I named one beneficiary. I told no one, not Josie, especially not Josie, because I did not want her Sunday calls to change. I did not want to buy loyalty I already had for free. The papers were signed, notarized, and sealed 11 months before my 75th birthday. Then I put them in a drawer and went back to living, and waited to see who my family truly was when they thought the counting had already begun. They showed me on my birthday. I know what happened on Linden Street that afternoon because Josie told me later, and because one of them, in their carelessness, left me a gift. Marian had brought a tape measure. She was standing in my old bedroom, the one with the window that catches the morning, measuring the wall for furniture that was not hers yet. Daniel had a notepad and was assigning rooms like a man dealing cards. Peter was in the garage deciding which tools he would keep and which he would sell. They had a spreadsheet. My children had built a spreadsheet of my life, with columns for value and columns for who, and they had scheduled it for my birthday because, and this is the part that still amazes me, they assumed I would not notice a missing lunch. They assumed a 75-year-old woman would eat her feelings quietly, the way she always had. Josie told me the details slowly, over many evenings, because some of them still made her ashamed to have witnessed. Daniel had already contacted an estate agent. Marian had a folder of paint colors for the rooms she meant to claim. Peter had made a list of the tools and had crossed out the ones he thought would not sell. They spoke about me, Josie said, entirely in the future tense, as though I were a chapter they had finished reading and were now discussing at length. The cruelest part was how ordinary it all was to them. No one was shouting. No one seemed to feel they were doing anything wrong. They were simply organized. They had the calm of people who believe they are entitled to what they are counting, and that calm, Josie said, was the coldest thing in the room. At 2 o'clock, while I sat with my cake, Daniel's phone buzzed with an email. He almost did not open it. Josie was there, you see. She had come not to measure, but because Marian had told her it was a family meeting about Grandma's affairs, and Josie, sweet and confused, had thought perhaps I was ill. She heard the tape measure snap shut. She saw the spreadsheet, and she said, "Where is Grandma? It's her birthday." The room, she told me, went a little quiet then, but not quiet enough to stop. The email Daniel almost ignored was from a law office. He read it aloud, expecting, I think, a formality, some paperwork to make the dividing official. Instead, he read that the property at Linden Street and the accounts he had already spent in his head were held in the Kaminsky family trust, irrevocable as to its terms, and had been so for nearly a year. He read that the sole beneficiary was named within, and that the estate they had gathered to divide did not, in any legal sense, exist for them to touch. Josie said the color left his face in stages. First he laughed, the way people laugh when they are sure it is a mistake. Then he read it again silently. Then he sat down. Marian asked who the beneficiary was, and Daniel, holding the phone, looked up across my old living room at the one person in that house who had come asking where I was. He looked at Josie. She did not understand at first. She thought she had done something wrong. That is the kind of person she is. Her first fear was that she was in trouble. The tape measure was still in Marian's hand. Nobody was measuring anything now. My phone rang at 4 o'clock that afternoon. It was not a Sunday, and it was not 7, so I knew before I answered that the machinery had finally turned over. It was Josie. She was crying, but not the way I feared. She said, "Grandma, they left you alone today. On your birthday. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." I told her to come. I told her I had cake. She arrived 40 minutes later with red eyes and a grocery store rose she had bought at the corner, because she could not bear to come empty-handed to a woman who had been left with an empty table. We lit the soft candles again. I did not tell her about the trust. She told me. She had heard her own name read aloud in a room full of people who suddenly could not look at her. She asked me why her? I said, because for 4 years you called a person. Everyone else was calling a house. She sat with that for a long moment. Then she asked the question that told me I had chosen right. She did not ask how much. She did not ask when. She asked, "Grandma, are you okay?" Not about the house. About today. About them leaving you. I told her the truth, which was that I had been ready for this for a very long time, and that being ready did not stop it from hurting, and that both of those things could be true at once. She reached across my little table and held my hand, the one with the crooked ring finger, and neither of us said anything for a while. That silence was different from the silence of the morning. That silence was full. The others called me that night, and the next day and the day after. The voices that had gone dark on my birthday were suddenly very bright. Daniel was reasonable, then wounded, then legal. He used the word fair a great deal, which is a word people reach for when they have run out of the word sorry. Marion cried and said she had only brought the tape measure to help. Peter said nothing useful and eventually stopped calling, which was, in its way, the most honest thing he did. I did not raise my voice to any of them. I did not need to. I had built a wall 11 months before they arrived to climb it, and it held without my help. That is the beauty of doing things quietly and early. Your calm does the shouting for you. I want to be clear about one thing because it matters to me. I did not do this to hurt them. I have loved those 3 children every single day of their lives, including the day they forgot me on purpose. I did it to be seen. I did it so that one time, just once, the arithmetic in this family would come out in favor of the person who showed up. The trust was never a weapon. It was a mirror. I simply held it up, and my children did not like their reflection, and that was never something I could fix for them. Josie tried to give it back. Of course she did. She stood in my kitchen and said she did not want the house, she wanted me, and she cried when she said it. I told her that was exactly why it was hers, and that a gift refused for the right reasons is a gift twice earned. So we sat, the 2 of us, in the late light, and we ate the yellow cake I had baked with no words on it. And I understood, finally, why I had left it blank. It was never meant to say happy birthday. It was waiting all along for the right person to share it with, so it could mean something true. The candle wax had gone soft hours before. We lit it anyway. An old woman and the girl who called on Sundays in a small, warm kitchen, while across town 3 empty rooms stayed exactly as large as they had always been. I keep my peace now the way I once kept those courthouse files. Carefully, in order, and where no one can take it from me. And when the phone rings on a Sunday at 7, I still answer on the second ring, because some things you protect not with paper, but by simply being there to pick up. They thought I was a season that had already ended, but I was only ever the quiet one, counting the jars, waiting to see who deserved the light.